At 1:19 a.m. on a humid Saturday night in Manhattan, the pulsing bass of Club Velvet suddenly stopped. The neon lights that had been painting faces in electric blues and purples flickered once, then died completely. In the suffocating darkness, someone screamed, "Fire!" and chaos erupted. Ava Carter had been laughing just seconds before, her blonde bob catching the strobing lights as she leaned against the marble bar. At 22, she commanded attention effortlessly, her black bodycon dress hugging every curve, her confidence radiating through the crowded dance floor. With over 2 million followers on social media, Ava had built an empire from her Manhattan penthouse, turning her lifestyle into liquid gold. Tonight was supposed to be just another night of content creation, another story for her feed. "Maya, did you see that guy's face when I walked away?" Ava had been giggling to her best friend Maya Rodriguez, who stood beside her holding 2 champagne flutes. Maya, a brunette with warm brown eyes, had been Ava's anchor since college, the only person who knew Ava before the fame, before the money, before the carefully curated perfection. The fire alarm's piercing shriek cut through their laughter like a blade. Emergency lighting bathed everything in an eerie red glow as hundreds of bodies pressed toward the exits. Ava grabbed her small black clutch from the bar, the one with the silver chain that held her phone, credit cards, and the vintage locket her grandmother had given her. "Stay close," Maya shouted over the chaos, reaching for Ava's hand. But the crowd surged like a tide, separating them in an instant. Maya caught a glimpse of Ava's blonde hair disappearing toward the side exit, the emergency door that led to the narrow alley behind the club. "Ava!" Maya screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the panic. She fought against the human current, trying to reach the same exit, but security guards were redirecting everyone toward the main entrance. The last thing Maya saw was the flash of Ava's black dress slipping through the emergency door into the night. Outside on the street, as fire trucks arrived with their wailing sirens, Maya frantically searched every face in the crowd. Club-goers stood in clusters, some crying, others filming the scene for their own social media. The acrid smell of smoke mixed with expensive perfumes and the cool October air. "Ava! Ava!" Maya's voice cracked as she pushed through groups of people, her heart hammering against her ribs. She called Ava's phone repeatedly, but each call went straight to voicemail. The cheerful automated message, "Hey gorgeous, you've reached Ava Carter, leave me something fabulous," felt like a cruel joke. Hours passed. The fire department declared it a false alarm. Someone had pulled the alarm as a prank. But Ava Carter, the girl who documented every moment of her life, who never went more than an hour without posting, had vanished into the Manhattan night, as if she had never existed at all. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat in Ava's pristine white penthouse overlooking Central Park, surrounded by ring lights, camera equipment, and vision boards covered in brand partnerships. Everything was exactly as Ava had left it. Her MacBook still open to an unfinished Instagram post, a half-empty coffee cup with lipstick stains on the rim, designer clothes scattered across her unmade bed like expensive confetti. The police treated it like a typical missing person case at first. "Young woman nightclub, probably went home with someone," Detective Sarah Chen had said with practiced indifference, barely looking up from her paperwork. But Maya knew better. Ava never disappeared without telling her. Never. They had shared locations, passwords, everything. Ava's digital footprint was her lifeline, and now it had gone completely dark. By Monday morning, Ava's absence became impossible to ignore. Her management company, Stellar Influence, started calling with increasing urgency. Brand partnerships worth hundreds of thousands of dollars hung in limbo. Luxury fashion houses, skincare companies, and lifestyle brands all demanded answers Maya couldn't provide. Her assistant Jennifer kept rescheduling meetings and photo shoots, making excuses that grew thinner by the day. "She's never missed a posting schedule," Jennifer told Maya over the phone, her voice tight with worry. "Not once in 3 years. Her engagement rates are dropping every hour she's offline. The algorithm is already pushing her content down. If she doesn't post soon, she'll lose everything she's built." Maya created missing person flyers with Ava's most recent photo, the one from that very night, taken just hours before she vanished. Ava's smile was radiant, her blue eyes sparkling with mischief as she posed with Maya in the club's bathroom mirror. The image felt like evidence of a life that had been suddenly erased, a ghost of happiness that now mocked everyone who looked at it. The days blurred together in a haze of false leads and dead ends. Someone claimed they saw a blonde woman getting into a black SUV near the club around 1:30 a.m. Another witness swore they spotted Ava at JFK Airport boarding a flight to Los Angeles. A homeless man insisted he'd seen her walking along the Hudson River at dawn, still in her black dress. Each tip sent Maya's heart racing, only to crumble under investigation like sandcastles hit by waves. Ava's social media accounts became digital shrines. Thousands of comments poured in from followers who noticed her sudden silence. "Where are you, Queen? Miss your daily posts. Hope you're okay, babe. This isn't like you." The notifications kept pinging on her abandoned phone, wherever it was, like electronic prayers sent into the void. Her Instagram stories, once updated hourly, remained frozen at that final video of her and Maya laughing in the club. Maya found herself sleeping in Ava's apartment, wearing her clothes, trying to feel close to her missing friend. She would sit at Ava's vanity, staring at the collection of expensive skincare products and makeup palettes worth more than most people's monthly rent, remembering how Ava would get ready for their nights out, always taking selfies, always documenting every moment, always living her life through the lens of her phone camera. The hardest part was Ava's mother calling from California. Patricia Carter's voice would break over the phone as she asked for updates Maya didn't have. "She always calls me on Sundays," Patricia would whisper through tears. "We've talked every Sunday for 5 years, ever since she moved to New York. What if something terrible happened to my baby? What if I never hear her voice again?" 3 weeks passed like a nightmare that refused to end. Then a month. Ava's Instagram account, once a beacon of daily content that influenced millions, became a time capsule frozen at 1:19 a.m. on that October night. Her last story, a video of her and Maya laughing in the club, Ava's blonde bob catching the strobing lights, played on an endless loop for anyone who viewed it, a ghost of happiness that felt increasingly distant and painful to watch. Maya hired a private investigator with money she didn't have, maxing out credit cards and borrowing from family. She printed thousands more flyers, papering Manhattan from the Upper East Side to Soho. She organized search parties that combed through Central Park, Brooklyn Bridge, the High Line, anywhere Ava might have gone. Volunteers showed up, some genuine, others just curious about the famous missing influencer. But New York City was vast and unforgiving, swallowing people whole without explanation. 8 million souls moved through its streets daily, and Ava Carter had simply vanished as if she had never existed at all. The city moved on with ruthless efficiency. New influencers rose to fill the void. Brands found new faces. The algorithm forgot. But Maya remained frozen in that moment at 1:19 a.m., waiting for her best friend to walk through the door with some wild story about where she'd been, laughing about how worried everyone had gotten over nothing. But the door stayed closed and the silence grew heavier with each passing day, pressing down on her chest like a weight she couldn't lift. 72 hours after Ava Carter vanished into the Manhattan night, a parking attendant named Marcus Williams was cleaning out abandoned vehicles in the underground garage beneath Club Velvet. The fire department had finally cleared the building, and life was slowly returning to normal in the trendy meatpacking district. Marcus had worked this job for 15 years, long enough to know that people left behind the strangest things when panic struck. He was vacuuming the interior of a silver BMW when his fingers brushed against something wedged deep under the passenger seat. A small black clutch with a silver chain. Expensive looking. The kind of accessory that probably cost more than his weekly paycheck. Marcus pulled it out carefully, expecting to find the usual contents. Lipstick, breath mints, maybe some cash. Instead, he found a life. The clutch belonged to Ava Carter. Her driver's license stared back at him from behind clear plastic, that same radiant smile he'd seen on missing person flyers plastered throughout the neighborhood. Her phone was there too, cracked but functional, the screen lighting up with hundreds of missed calls and messages, credit cards, business cards from modeling agencies, and tucked in a small interior pocket, a vintage gold locket that looked like it had been passed down through generations. Marcus immediately called the police. Within an hour, Detective Sarah Chen was holding the clutch in her latex-gloved hands, her expression more serious than it had been 3 days earlier. The BMW belonged to Trevor Blackstone, a 28-year-old investment banker who'd been at Club Velvet that night. Security footage showed him leaving the club during the evacuation, but he'd never mentioned giving anyone a ride. When police brought Trevor in for questioning, his story cracked like thin ice. Yes, he'd met Ava at the club. Yes, they'd flirted, shared a few drinks, even kissed on the dance floor. When the fire alarm went off, he'd offered her a ride home. She'd seemed disoriented, maybe from the champagne, maybe from the chaos. He'd helped her to his car in the underground garage. She got in willingly, Trevor insisted, his expensive suit wrinkled from nervous sweating. We were talking, laughing. She was telling me about her Instagram, showing me her follower count. Then suddenly she got this weird look in her eyes, like she didn't recognize me. She started saying she needed to find Maya, that something was wrong. According to Trevor, Ava had become increasingly agitated during the short drive. She demanded he stop the car, said she needed to get out, that she'd made a mistake. When he'd pulled over near Washington Square Park, she'd jumped out without taking her clutch, disappearing into the maze of streets around NYU campus. I should have followed her, Trevor admitted, his voice breaking. But she seemed so sure about what she was doing. I thought maybe she was meeting someone, maybe she had another ride arranged. I didn't know she was missing until I saw the news. The discovery of the clutch changed everything. What had seemed like a simple disappearance now felt more sinister. Maya stood in the police station, holding Ava's belongings, feeling the weight of the vintage locket in her palm. She opened it carefully, revealing a tiny black and white photograph of Ava's grandmother, the woman who'd raised her after her father left when she was 7. She never went anywhere without this, Maya whispered to Detective Chen. Her grandmother gave it to her before she died. Ava said it was her good luck charm, that it kept her safe in the big city. But the locket hadn't kept her safe. And now, 3 days later, the trail was growing colder by the hour. Maya walked through Washington Square Park that evening, retracing the route Trevor had described. The autumn air was crisp, filled with the scent of fallen leaves and the distant aroma of food trucks. College students hurried past with backpacks and coffee cups, living their normal lives while Maya's world remained shattered. She stopped at every bench, every corner, every spot where Ava might have paused. She showed Ava's photo to homeless individuals, late-night dog walkers, anyone who might have been in the area around 2 a.m. that Saturday night. Most people shook their heads sympathetically, but offered nothing useful. Then, near the fountain in the center of the park, an elderly woman walking her small terrier stopped Maya. "I remember her," the woman said, studying the photo carefully. "Beautiful blonde girl, fancy dress. She was sitting right there on that bench around 2 in the morning crying. I asked if she needed help, but she just looked at me like she didn't understand English." Maya's heart raced. What happened then? A man approached her, well-dressed, seemed to know her. He was very gentle, very persuasive. He helped her up, said he was taking her somewhere safe. She went with him willingly, but she seemed confused, like she wasn't quite there mentally. The description sent chills down Maya's spine. What did the man look like? Older than her, maybe 30s. Dark hair, expensive coat. He had this way of speaking. Very calm, very authoritative, like he was used to people doing what he said. Maya thanked the woman and immediately called Detective Chen. But as she stood alone in Washington Square Park, surrounded by the ghosts of that night, she realized that finding Ava's clutch had only deepened the mystery. Her best friend hadn't simply vanished. She'd been taken by someone who knew exactly how to make a person disappear in a city of 8 million souls. The vintage locket felt heavy in Maya's pocket as she walked home through the neon-lit streets, wondering if Ava was somewhere out there still alive, still hoping someone would find her. Or if the girl who documented every moment of her life had become just another missing person statistic in the endless, unforgiving maze of New York City. 2 years and 4 months after Ava Carter vanished from Washington Square Park, Maya Rodriguez had learned to live with the hollow ache that never quite went away. She'd moved out of Manhattan, unable to bear the constant reminders, and now worked as a social media manager for a small nonprofit in Brooklyn. The irony wasn't lost on her. helping others build their online presence while her best friend's digital empire had crumbled into digital dust. Maya had stopped checking Ava's Instagram account months ago. The comments had shifted from concern to conspiracy theories, then gradually faded to nothing. Ava's follower count had dropped from 2.3 million to barely 800,000, most of them bots or people who'd forgotten to unfollow. The algorithm had moved on, as algorithms do, burying her content beneath layers of newer, shinier influencers. On a rainy Thursday morning in March, Maya was grabbing coffee from her usual spot in Park Slope when she saw her. Not Ava, but a woman who looked so much like her that Maya's ceramic mug slipped from her hands, shattering against the cafe floor with a sound that made everyone turn and stare. The woman was standing across the street, waiting for the light to change. Same height, same build, same blonde bob. But something was different. She wore simple jeans and a plain gray sweater, no makeup, no designer accessories. Her posture was different too, less confident, more guarded. When she turned slightly, Maya caught a glimpse of her profile, and her heart stopped. It was Ava. Older, thinner, changed, but unmistakably Ava. Maya ran from the cafe without paying, dodging traffic as she crossed the street. But by the time she reached the other side, the woman had disappeared into the crowd of morning commuters. Maya stood on the sidewalk, breathing heavily, wondering if grief had finally driven her to hallucinations. For 3 days, Maya haunted that same corner, arriving early, staying late, hoping to see the woman again. She felt foolish, obsessive, but she couldn't shake the certainty of what she'd witnessed. On Saturday morning, her persistence paid off. The woman emerged from a small apartment building 2 blocks away, carrying a canvas grocery bag and wearing the same understated clothes. This time Maya followed at a distance. The woman moved differently than the Ava she remembered. No phone in hand, no selfies, no awareness of being watched. She shopped carefully at a small market, counting bills from a worn wallet, buying generic brands and day-old bread. Everything about her suggested someone living quietly, invisibly, deliberately under the radar. Maya followed her to a small community garden where the woman tended to a plot of vegetables with practiced hands. She worked alone, methodically, her blonde hair tucked under a baseball cap. When she finally looked up, Maya stepped out from behind the fence where she'd been hiding. Ava? The woman froze, her hands still gripping a handful of weeds. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the garden beds. Maya saw recognition flicker in those familiar blue eyes, followed immediately by something that looked like fear. "I don't know who you're talking about," the woman said quietly, her voice hoarse as if she hadn't used it much lately. "My name is Anna." But Maya knew that voice, had heard it laugh and cry and whisper secrets in the dark. "Ava, it's me. It's Maya. I've been looking for you for over 2 years. Everyone's been looking for you." Ava, Anna, whoever she was now, stood slowly, brushing dirt from her hands. She looked around the garden as if checking for escape routes. "You need to leave me alone. What happened to you? Where have you been? Your mother thinks you're dead. I thought you were dead." "Maybe I am." Ava's voice was flat, emotionless. Maybe Ava Carter died that night in the club. Maybe she needed to die. Maya stepped closer, her heart breaking at the emptiness in her best friend's eyes. "What are you talking about? You had everything. Your career, your apartment, your life." "My life?" Ava laughed bitterly. "You mean my performance? My carefully curated lie? Do you know what it's like to live every moment for other people's approval? To have your worth measured in likes and comments and brand deals?" The words hung between them like a confession. Maya remembered the pressure, the constant need to create content, the way Ava had started taking pills to sleep, drinking more to cope with the anxiety of maintaining her perfect online image. That night at the club, Ava continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "When everything went dark, I realized I could just disappear, be nobody, be free." "But you didn't disappear on your own," Maya said, remembering the witness in Washington Square Park. "Someone helped you. Someone took you." Ava's expression shifted, became guarded. "I made a choice. I chose to leave." "With who? Who was the man in the park?" For a moment, Ava's carefully constructed calm cracked. Maya saw a flash of the old fear, the old vulnerability. Someone who understood what I needed. Someone who helped me become invisible. Maya felt sick. Ava, if someone is controlling you, if you're in danger, I'm not in danger. Ava's voice was firm now, final. I'm free. For the first time in my life, I'm actually free. She picked up her canvas bag and started walking toward the garden gate. Maya followed, desperate. Your mother calls me every week. She still hopes you'll come home. Ava stopped walking but didn't turn around. Tell her Anna sends her love. Tell her Anna is happy. I can't do that. I can't lie to her. Then don't tell her anything. Ava finally turned, and Maya saw tears in her eyes for the first time. Some people aren't meant to be found, Maya. Some people need to stay lost. She walked away then, disappearing into the Brooklyn morning like a ghost, returning to whatever shadows had hidden her for 2 years. Maya stood alone in the community garden, holding the weight of a secret she didn't know how to carry, wondering if finding her best friend had been a blessing or a curse. That night, Maya sat in her apartment staring at her phone. Patricia Carter's number highlighted on the screen. Her finger hovered over the call button, but she couldn't bring herself to press it. How do you tell a mother that her daughter is alive but chooses to remain dead? How do you explain that sometimes love means letting go, even when every instinct screams to hold on? Maya never made that call. Instead, she learned to live with a different kind of grief, the grief of knowing that some disappearances are choices, and some people vanish not because they're taken, but because they need to save themselves from the lives they can no longer bear to live.